Welcome to the Wealth by Choice podcast. My name is Valerie Shirah, and I'm a stay-at-home mom who turned entrepreneur. Each week, we bring you stories and wisdom from individuals who have broken the code to generating wealth. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Let's get started. Well, hey, I want to thank you both for coming and getting on the podcast today. And I really like to focus on people's story and how they became successful, what they did, maybe a little bit about what they had to go through, and some of the choices that they've made. So I don't know if, Mina, if we could start with you, just tell me a little bit of your background, and then we'll go over to Lidiya since we've got two guests on today.
Yeah. How much time do we have? Where do we start?
Just give me a short little summary, and we'll dig
But
in deeper.
this is kind of cool. This is what makes us strong with Lydia and me is that we come from such different cultures and backgrounds. I come from very hot Mexico, a culture where people are joyful, people are very smiley, people are very, we like to dance since we're children. We learn to dance and people clap and I come from a very small village in Mexico, and my parents were the only doctors in that town for decades. So we were a big fish in a tiny little tank, and that's my background. Then I left to go pursue some dreams, and I went to a bigger city, and I studied languages, and so I speak Japanese, French, and
Oh my
English. And then I was like, what the heck am I gonna do with that? And so I started to be an English teacher, and then I realized my English wasn't that good. So I'm like, all right, what do I need to do? And I was studying English like 8 hours a day. So I was serious about it, but I still wasn't that good. So I knew I had family in Texas. I never really spent any time with them before this. But I'm like, hey, can I stay with you for like 6 months while I practice my English? And they were like, yeah, come on over. And I stayed with them. And I was just mesmerized by the wealth of America. People, Americans, unless they go out of America and travel throughout the world, it's hard for them to understand how well we have it. And let's talk about just basic things: roads, water, electricity, just very basic things. I'm not even talking about the luxury of identifying yourself a certain whatever way. No, I'm talking about basic things, and that's where I came from. I met my husband in 2015. We had a beef jerky company. He managed that, Ricky's Jerky, and then when COVID hit and the restrictions came up, we were like, all right, we need to figure something else out. And that's how we found multifamily, Jake and Gino, land acquisition. And now I do that full time. And now we're starting a new podcast with Lydia so we can kind of translate and process what we're going through and share it with everybody.
I love that, Mina. That's a lot, and that's a lot to you kind of unpack in there. I love how it seems like you just didn't give up. Every step you took, you kind of took what you could see, and then the next step kind of unfolded in front of you. Lidiya, what about you? Where are you coming from? What's your backstory? And then we can kind of dive into the stories.
Well, my background is, of course, I'm from Ukraine, and I came here when I was a little girl. I speak a few languages too, but mostly predominantly Slavic languages. I learned a little bit of Spanish, believe it or not. In high school, there was a lot of Latinos and they spoke Spanish. And I'm like, I need to know what they're talking about. So I learned that language, lost it. Kind of understand maybe like 30% of it. So still understand it. So Mina mentioned that they're a very friendly and happy culture. Well, my culture it's like stranger danger, like we kind of like, we don't know you. You stay over there until we get to know you so we can trust you. And then if we think you're okay and we can trust you, then we'll accept you into our group. So we're very reserved and kind of cold. We might seem like off-putting, but it's because we don't know you, it's the cultural thing. So we're not Like even in the pictures, like you're not going to find me smiling because that's not embedded in our culture, you know. Until I get to know you, then I'll relax and then you'll see my true personality coming out, you know. So it's different. And doing this podcast is going to be a very interesting experience because Mina and I both, you know, passionate about real estate, about sharing people, helping people, but we have different kind of backgrounds. One thing we have in common is we're very hardworking and perseverance. We're both immigrants, so we go above and beyond, you know, things. But it's definitely like she's more very colorful, very friendly. Anybody can approach her. Me, I kind of like, I don't know you. I don't even know where to start with you, you know. So I'm gonna like watch in the background, and then I'm like, oh, I think I understand this person. Then I'll go in. So this is going to be a very interesting experience. I've been in real estate already over 20 some years. My journey started with me interpreting to all the Slavic, Russian, Ukrainian people that was in my community. And they would take me as a little girl, even from high school. They would take me after school to, you know, interpret not just buying homes, but like, you know, legal issues, medical issues, whatever they had. And I would do it. And they would always tell me, hey, Lydia, you're good at, you know, with business. You're good with real estate. Go get your real estate license. I'm like, nah, you know, I don't think it's for me. Definitely not, you know. And then I started my own company, construction cleaning company. And again, the builders like, why are you cleaning them if you're so good at kind of talking to people, connecting them and selling them? Go get your real estate. I'm like, nah, you know, I don't think it's for me, you know, I'm not going to be good at it. So finally, when I was working for Victoria's Secret, my store manager, her father-in-law was a builder, and she was, you know, living the industry of like sales in the Victoria's Secret corporate world, and she was going into real estate. And she's like, Lydia, you need to come. And I'm like, okay, third person telling me I need to be in real estate. I guess it's my destiny. I guess this is what the Lord wanted me to do, you know. So I went and got my real estate license and start working. And just right away, we're kind of like thrown into investor environment. And I noticed that a lot of people don't understand investing, especially immigrants or people that are too busy. And I would literally, you know, like break it down to them. And now, you know, I joined Jake and Gino like a year ago. It's a family, it's a community, it's an amazing environment. And me and Mina, we're gonna combine forces to really bring real estate to its basic forms. So even if you're here in this country, don't know how things are working, you can understand. Because I believe in investing in real estate is the best investment out there, because people are always going to need a house. Basic needs. What is basic needs? It's food and definitely housing. So that's just my story.
Well, I love that. I find it interesting that both of you are immigrants, but you're both so successful. Why do you think that you guys are successful and so many Americans who were born here and who to some degree had an advantage are not? What are some of the choices that you think that you made differently? Mina, you want to go first?
Yeah, of course I do. I'm dying to talk over here. I was gonna say before that, Valerie, even I was gonna say that it's just so funny to see how Lydia and I are so opposite, and I think that's gonna be great because we're working on our website. It's gonna be called Decode REI, and we look at Lydia's website. It's black and white, very structured. We look at my website and it's orange and colorful, and it's just like, oh, this is great. But she's also very structured as well, and I need that. And I'm more spontaneous, and let's just get it done. And I guess that's good for her too. I would say this is very interesting. To answer your question, there is that book that comes to mind, Mindset. And it's not about how smart you are, it's about how much effort you put on things. That's it. We are babies at so many things, like doing podcasts, but we're going in with the understanding that we're only going to get good at it if we just do it 100 and maybe 500 times. I don't know how many times it's going to take, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many times it takes because we have the whole time. We have our whole life ahead of us. So when we come into this country, we do have a little bit disadvantage on not even understanding the system. I spent the first 5 years of my life in the States trying to understand the language, the culture, what the heck am I doing here, and how am I going to make it happen? I mean, it was just like year after year, just thinking, am I doing the right thing? Does that work? Is that how it works over here? But then, so you get to that level, and it's like, okay, hey, I'm kind of used to working kind of hard, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep going to the next level. And then you get to the next level, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of good. I'm still young. I still need to keep going, so I'm just gonna go to the next level. But you just get into that discipline and mindset, and not every day is pretty. And not every day is like I wish I had more time for reading, or I made myself more time for reading, and things like that. But hey, by pushing ourselves, by putting ourselves on this spot, aka sharing with everybody what we're doing, well, that's holding ourselves accountable so we can go to the next level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think, Lydia?
Well, definitely perseverance. I agree. But immigrants were very good at seeing and taking and seizing opportunities. The opportunities that the United States has is phenomenal. It is country for business. If you are putting all the hard work in, you will definitely get reward. And you don't get these type of opportunities in my countries unless you're somewhere higher up or you know somebody that can help you. But this country, like to open up an LLC, it takes what, like 5-10 minutes. It takes a process to get approved, but then you get approved and you can go and work, right? In my country, it's not that simple. They might not even let you.
Wow.
Absolutely. Just having that system in place to be able to follow, like Jake says, the yellow brick road. Follow that yellow brick road and you will get there. At least there is a yellow brick road. In so many countries, there is no such road. Go ahead, Lily.
So what I was saying is the opportunity, seasoned immigrants are very good at seizing and looking at opportunity and jumping in it. What's holding them back is not knowing the system, because United States has its system. Every country has its systems, has its rules, laws, regulation, and stuff like that. It's not knowing. What's not knowing, that's why I want to kind of share, me and Mina, I want to share it and show them how I think it's easy. If you're hardworking and you persevere and just know your knowledge and apply your knowledge, you will be successful. So I'm no different than anybody else. Like, do I think I'm successful? Well, I'm not Trump and I'm not Grant Cardone. I'm not one of those, but I'm a hard worker. I persevere. I learn. I'm always learning. I never gonna stop learning. Each year I take 3-4 different classes, seminars, just to learn new things that I don't know. And the more I learn, the more I understand I don't know everything. And that's gets me going more and more and more. And then from learning, you can learn, but if you don't apply it, how else are you expecting to be successful? Learn what you apply. Yeah, you might fail, but get up and do it again. Don't feel defeated. Starbucks, how many times the Starbucks owner got no, but yet he keeps on persevering. Walt Disney, I mean, if you read about these major corporations, how they started from nothing, and now look at them. Same thing with you. Don't stop. Keep going.
Yeah, it really sounds like going through hardships really puts a drive into you that maybe a lot of Americans they really haven't had it hard. I mean, there are Americans who've had it hard. I'm not trying to discount that, but to some degree, coming from another country, you see things in a different way. And this therefore, when you get here, you actually see the opportunity because of what you've been through. And so that kind of opens your mind up and makes you aware, where I think a lot of times Americans just aren't aware of the gift that they're given, just because, maybe they don't have that drive, or, maybe they haven't been through some of the things that you guys have been through.
Yeah, and the other side of the coin is up. I mean, if they have been raised in a very comfortable situation, well, yay, enjoy it. That's great. You don't have to suffer, but there is there is a gift that comes with working hard. And if you start at a level where you didn't have to work perhaps hard labor jobs when you were young and things like that, well, still, just know that there is certain gift that comes with the effort and going against your resistance and going against easy in this world.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you guys think about, or do you have specific strategies for making decisions? Like when you go to make a decision, because we're really a sum of the choices that we make. That's really what it comes down to.
Hmm.
We're just a product of all the choices we've made. So how do you guys funnel those choices and decide, is this a yes, is this a
Uh,
no, a
yeah,
maybe?
well, for
How
me,
do
it's
you look
actually
at
pretty
that?
simple, believe it or not. I check,
Mina, your
they
face.
call it female intuition, or so I'm a believer. And every choice that I make, I check with my intuition spirit. If I have peace towards something, let's say an opportunity is given to me, and I basically, start thinking about, should I do it, not do it? And if I have peace inside of me, I'll do it. And especially if I don't make decision hastily, like I might sleep on it. My huge big thing is to like wait 24 hours before saying yes, unless it's something that I've been thinking for a while and somebody comes in and do it, and I'm like, yes, because I've been thinking about it, or I've been dreaming about it, or it's in my vision board or something. So if I have peace, I do it. If I like, have worry or something that's not, like I don't understand, I might do a little bit more research on it and make a decision. But most of the time, if there is any resistance, I won't proceed with it, because I
Sure.
learned that if I still proceed with it and say yes right away, without thinking about it, there is a price to pay, and that price is always too high to actually, do it. So that's my process. I don't know how Mina does it, and I would love to hear that as well.
I I that's an area for of work for me. I like to think things thoroughly, and I like to ask questions to other people that already went through it. And I might be a little bit burdensome, like, would you please give me a phone call so I can ask you about this specific thing? And I like to just be okay, something really easy like food. Okay, what's the goal? Well, the goal is to feed us and be something nourishing. Okay, but what do we feel like? How is our mental state? What is our emotional state? Do we need more carbs? Perhaps do we need to stay more lean? And I that's easy for me to decide. But something big, like it took us, my husband and I took us a couple of years to decide to let me go from managing our beef jerky company and allowing me to full time focus on real estate. And it was a big elephant, and it was a big project. And but it took us a long time. It was like life showing us here and there in many forms, in many ways. You need to start looking. You need to start preparing. You need to start moving forward on that direction. And it was a lot of introspection and a lot of thinking and a lot of praying too. Should we do it? Will I suck? Will I lose everything? Will I succeed? Will I be a millionaire? And will I be okay with that? Because that's another thing. Not everybody's ready, or not everybody's prepared to just receive fully handed all the wealth of the world, right? So yeah, it took me a while. I think about things a long time.
But I see in that, something that a lot of people don't have, and that's a willingness to fail. Can we talk about that? Like, what do you guys think about that? Having a willingness to fail and being okay with that, in trying something new.
So I have a saying, what doesn't kill
Go
us
for it,
makes us
Lidiya.
stronger. So failing is a great learning experience for me, anyways. That's how I see it. And if I do something and it doesn't work out, I would ask my question, okay, why didn't it work out? What was I missing that it didn't work out? Or what did I learn that from this failure? And then I would get up and I would go and do it again. I might try it, a few different ways to figure out how to do it. And I'm pretty stubborn, so I don't like to hear no, or I don't like to fail. And after a few tries, I might say, okay, I can figure this out. Let me bring somebody in. So I would phone a friend, somebody that has an expert, and I'll be like, okay, this is my struggle. What am I missing? I'm missing something.
And,
And
real quick, you mentioned a little while
that's
ago a
my
vision
way. That's
board.
how I
Does that
handle it.
help determine some of your decisions too? Because, I mean, that's kind of looking through your life in the lens of your future self, in the sense. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So my board that I have, it's my crazy ideas. I have no limit. My imagination is unlimited. Sometimes I even put things into it that, people say you crazy. How can you, like, I don't just go to the moon. I go to another galaxy, like I go above and far and beyond. And I put it in my vision board. And I said, this is, I know it's crazy, but I'm going to put it at about, I would say 99%, it comes true. It might not come true that year, but it comes true like, maybe 3 years past. But whatever I put it in there, it's always come true. And it's the desire within me, or maybe just like I'm sitting one of the ideas that, like, either I'm talking to somebody and it pops up in my head or something like that. I'm like, ooh, that would be cool. Wouldn't it be cool to do this, or wouldn't it be cool to achieve this? So I put it like at the end of the year. Usually that's when I do my vision boards for every year, and I would put it in there. And each year, of course, when you grow and evolve, hopefully you grow and evolve. Some of those things will stay, some of those things will be replaced because you're outgrown that. So I love vision boards. I love thinking ahead and dreaming. You call me a huge dreamer, you know, and a huge believer. I believe not only in myself, I believe everybody can reach that goal. Like, honestly, it's just a mindset. If you put your mindset and don't give up and do stuff, you will definitely reach that goal.
That's awesome. Mina, what do you have to add to that?
I will say, why is people so afraid of failing? If we're not failing, we're not
Very
growing.
true.
Who in this world? And I love the analogy of children. When they start to walk and they are so bubbly and lumbly and whatever, they fall all the time, and we don't go to them and say, "You fail, you suck, you can walk. I'm getting rid of you." It's the same thing. Why are we? I mean, I'm gonna watch this podcast and then I'm gonna be like, "Man, you suck. You sound horrible. What are you doing? Who are you?" And all those gremlins start coming up, right? Failing. What is failing? Failing is really okay. I didn't get what I wanted to. Okay, that wasn't the result I wanted to get. What did I get? Okay, I got a lesson. And now I learned how to do it. Or maybe that wasn't for me. Or maybe that's just not where I'm supposed to go. And I welcome failure. I welcome it. It's part of life. The the sooner we fail, the sooner we realize we're doing something wrong, the sooner we can snap out of it and go on the other direction. If we have to go in the other direction, but that is that thinking time to think, okay, that didn't work. Do I still want to proceed that? Yeah, it's a big enough goal that I think is worth going back to the drawing board and say, okay, so where did we make the mistake? What was the thought process that got us into this failure and this trouble. Okay, that was painful. What did we really learn? And let's just talk about it for a couple of weeks, so we make sure we understood the whole thing. Or sometimes it's a little bit longer, but I honestly, I'm not afraid of failing. I will be I will be in a cave, living in a cave by myself if I was afraid of
Well,
failing.
why do you think that so many people are? Do you think it's the actual failure they're afraid of, or do you think it's the fear of what they think people will think? For me, it's more of a fear. I've struggled a lot with a fear of what others will think more than the failure itself. What do you guys think about that?
I honestly, I think people, well, there's this thing called social media too, where we see the perfect lives of everybody for the perfect 10 seconds, and we tend to now compare ourselves with that, and I think that's very dangerous. Nobody wakes up like that. And then the other thing is that people don't talk about failures enough. They don't welcome it. They are embarrassed about it. But is it gremlins that we got when we were growing up? I mean, did you have a castrating mother that would just tell you over and over and over and over again, where you made the mistake, and you don't want to hear that gremlin now as an adult? Yeah, that's interesting. Imagine all the light, imagine all the progress, all the growth we could all have if somebody gets a chance to look at our failure and say, "Oh my gosh, yeah, that girl on that podcast, she mentioned that. I'm not gonna go that direction. I think I'm okay. All those things. Imagine all these shortcuts you can create for people by sharing the failures. I think there is so much treasure on failing, which also just means not succeeding on that one thing, that one time that you wanted to succeed on that specific
Well, and when you
thing.
think about it, like what you said earlier, is as a kid, you fall down, everybody's so encouraging. Get up, you can do it, walk to mommy, all these positive things. But at some point, it does change, to where friends are making fun of you, even adults. What are you doing? That's wrong. You gotta, you change this and do that differently. And so I think at some point we become really conscious of what other people think. And we become afraid of looking bad in someone else's um, eyes. And sometimes I really think the people that we're surrounding ourselves can really hold us back. I mean, if we're constantly in close proximity to people who are either tearing us down or just saying, you can't do that, that's a bad idea, you shouldn't get into multifamily, you shouldn't get into debt, all that kind of stuff, that really plays a part. And so I'd like to, talk a little bit about the people you surround yourself with. I mean, we're all in Jake and Gino community, which has been fantastic. But talk to me a little bit about how your friendships and the people that you hang around or are with have played a role in your success.
Well, I have a mentor, and I always had a mentor for the last 15 years who became my very, very good friend. She's a hard money lender and multifamily. She owned a couple multifamilies in Ohio. And I would watch her and see how she does things, and that's influenced my life. In fact, she's the one that bought me my first seminar that was teaching how to
Wow,
do
okay.
flips. So she bought it, she sent it to me. I think it was that Tristan and his wife at the time, they were married. That's the one. And then she sent me to another one that talked about delayed taxes. You buy tax deeds. She talked about that, and she's like, Lidiya, you can do this. Like, I see you, but a lot more better than me, because you can hack the system. You can actually go learn it, perfect it, and do it. So she played a huge role in me. Plus, my father was also a businessman. He wasn't into real estate, but our first house that we lived in had owner financing in there. We were only a year and a half United States when we bought our house, and the only way we could do it is owner financing. So I knew there's different structures, there's different things in United States that I wasn't aware of, that we can use towards. And of course, surrounding yourself with the proper people is very important. That's why we joined Jake and Gino. That's why I try to have people around me who are like-minded. But I love my naysayers, because my naysayers kind of give me balance. So I would run things by naysayer, and they would tell me the worst thing that could happen, me joining or doing something. And I'm like, okay, if this is the worst thing can happen, hey, I'm going to do it. So I call it 80-20 rule. 80% is the one that support me, they're there for me, that like my, and the 20 that I have is my naysayers. And I'm not only do I have them kind of balance my decisions and kind of seeing what I'm doing to figure out what's the worst thing, but I'm hoping to infuse them. There is another way. Hopefully they'll realize that they see it and they switch over from that 20 into that 80, hopefully. But life is not that way, you know.
How about you, Valerie? I'm curious to say to hear what you have to say about friends and that inner
Sure. I
circle.
mean, I absolutely believe it's crucial. I've seen a huge difference in my life, and I've seen, different people transform as well. Because, I mean, what do they say? You're the combination of the five people you hang around. And I like to think that includes books. I noticed a big difference last year when I committed to reading a book a week. And that was more about the discipline of finishing what I start than it was about the actual books, because I tend to just nibble at books. And so it was a discipline for me. But the amount of stuff that I consumed from a lot of the authors, I'd be with them, in one sense for weeks, because I'd read several of their books. And I felt like they were transforming the way that I think, the way that I talk. And, we're talking about through COVID and different times when we're home a lot, I'm reading a lot and learning a lot and listening to, and, even in the Jake and Gino community, I mean, we're talking to high level people, and I'm listening to Gino. And so I feel like the people that you listen to constantly really do feed your mind and help you change those decisions. For once, you may have thought this was a good decision, but after being around high level people and people who are making decisions differently, it really does affect it.
I was in junior high school and I went to a private junior high school and Catholic in Mexico. And I was with the rich kids and I belonged to them and we used to hang out. There was five girls and I mean, I attracted the wrong crowd for sure. We will skip class, once every week or once every 2 weeks to go to the Rotary Club to hang out in the swimming pool, or we will go to the natural spring, or I mean, we will find things to do. I was 13, 14 years old back then. And my parents were going through a struggling phase. And I just felt so guilty that I wasn't taking advantage of the effort they were putting. And I decided to change schools to a public school so that I will save them the tuition. And also because I couldn't say no to my friends. I realized at an early age that the crowd I was hanging out with, just because of my personality, I love people, I love hanging out with people, I love connecting with people. So I did realize that I needed to be more picky who I was going to be hanging out with. And everything changed. My grades went up. I actually participated in competitions for speech, public speaking, and I was involved in so much more better things for me. And that was a big learning moment at 13, 14 years old, that, oh my goodness, people that I hang out with can be a really good influence or a really bad influence. I have to keep an eye on it. And then I struggled through that through my life, through my young years. But then because of the business I did for so long, for 16 years, where I had to travel all over the country, that was really good for me because I didn't have to spend a whole lot of time with people. When we would get close 10, 12 days, and then it was time to go to the next city, and then we would grow together, and then it was time to move again. And I think that was very healthy. And I like that because at some point I used to think, okay, this is good because I get a chance to see myself, how I behave in front of certain people, and I can watch and observe myself and learn and understand myself. That way, when I settle down, I can, I'm more proficient on how I do with relationships. And nowadays it's funny. I settle down. We're growing roots. We belong to a church. We belong to several real estate groups and different groups of people. And I noticed that I go, I do look for the successful people. I do look for the more interesting people. I do look for the people that are open to grow, open to have a deep conversation. I notice that I don't go to my peers. I don't really have anything to talk about with them. But it's been that has been a very interesting part of my life. It's just my personality. Like I said, I just like to hang out with people and I blend with people too. That's also an issue if you go to the wrong crowd.
For sure. Well, ladies, I really appreciate you taking the time to get on with me. I want to close with one question to ask you guys, and it's the meaning of success, because it's so different to each person. I mean, to some it may be wealth, it may be in a dollar amount, and to others it may be something different. And I would love to hear both of you. What is your definition of success? Lidiya, let's start with you.
Success. For me, it's reaching my goal, and I would say overreaching my goal, overabundance of that goal, that I could, in dollar amount, money never been my inspiration, but my why changed over a period of time, meaning, like funds, because I could help others. So if I'm successful enough that I could help others and touch others, and it could be financially, it could be educationally, it could be any way that I could, or I could inspire somebody could see me successful, and inspire them to do better, to thrive, to grow. That's success for me. It's going above and beyond your expectation. And you have abundance. You have abundance of whatever you're trying to reach, so you could share with
Great. That's
others.
awesome. That's awesome. Mina, what about you?
Me too. Just kidding.
Too easy. That was too easy.
I actually think that success, success is doing what I am supposed to be doing today with what I have. And some days it is to make somebody laugh. Some days it is to cry with somebody that is in pain. Some days it's just sitting in front of my computer, looking at properties, looking at land, going against what is hard for me to do, which is cold calling and growing on that direction. But success is I want to help, I want to be part of the creators. I want to be part of the people that take responsibility. I want to be part of the people that believe that we can live a more beautiful world behind us. When we die, when we're gone, there was something. We put a little grain on the beauty side of things instead of the ugly side of things. So that's the direction. I want positive, I want light, I want growth, I want sharing. But success really for me is every day. What is it that I am supposed to be doing today? And connect with that, and also a little bit of growth, that little step.
Yeah.
Don't let a day go by without having that little extra growth. It would be so sad that that might have been your last day in this life and you really didn't create any beauty. And I think that's, to me, that is already being successful.
I love that, Mina. I appreciate you sharing that. Well, both of you, thank you so much. I'm excited. You guys are starting a podcast right as I'm starting a podcast, and it's going to be exciting to watch each other grow. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us here today.
We'll hold each other accountable, Valerie.
Absolutely.
Can't quit
All right.
now.
Well, thanks so much.
Yep. Yeah.
Hey,
Thank you.
yeah, everybody
Bye.
can find us at the code REI. I am Mina. That's Lydia.
And I'm
Yep. And
Lydia.
we will definitely, yeah, we'll keep that in the show notes as
Yeah,
well.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took the time to invest in yourself and to learn with me today. If you're interested in joining a group of like-minded people, I want to personally invite you to our free networking group where you can make connections and build relationships with people who are working together to generate wealth. Just click the link that is included in the show notes, and I hope to see you there.